No, I don't need a tie for committee.
Okay.
No, City of Williamsport.
There you go.
You ready?
Yep.
Okay, welcome everyone. This is the initial meeting of the year, January 3rd, 2023 of the Finance Committee. Present today are Councilwoman, Vice President Council Bonnie Katz, myself, Randy Allison, Councilman Eric Biter. From the administration, we have Mayor Derek Slaughter, HR Molly Steele Shrimp, Peg Woodring is here from the Controller's Office. Who am I missing here? John Markley from the public is here to on the appointments. And Chris Black, our IT. Chief Lucas is here as well from the administration. I think I covered everybody. In any case, we'll get started. We have 6 items today. The first one is okay, I'm sorry. We don't have the appointments listed here.
Excuse me, Randy, excuse me. No, I told John and sent him the link that the appointments are on ERC tomorrow morning at 9.
Oh, okay. Did you get that, John?
Yeah, so I can leave then?
Yes, you can, sir.
That sounds good to me.
All right.
Come
Bye.
back tomorrow at 9.
Okay, thank you.
No,
See you at
2:30,
2:30
John.
then.
I'll 2:30. Gotcha.
No, he's on ERC. Economic.
He's on Public
Revitalization.
Works.
He's on Public Works.
Oh, yeah, and he's on ERC, yeah, for the appointments, yeah. And Public Works, right, sorry.
Okay, we're getting off to a great start in 2023. Oh,
Happy New Year.
It's like,
Happy New Year.
yeah, right. Okay. Our first item is the ordinance transfer in first reading, and that is Peg Woodring.
Okay, am I hooked up now?
Yes, you are. We can hear you.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm asking for your approval of a transfer of $200 from supplies, which is account 3010-61010, to equipment, which is 3010-64040. I would like to purchase a printer for the office. It's getting a little inconvenient at times. If the door happens to get locked in the community theater league entrance, we have to go around to go upstairs for it, for the printer up there. And, of course, we take the time to go up and down several times. So we'd like to have one for the office.
Okay. Thank you, Peg, for bringing that forward and making us aware of that. Let me get out of this for a second. Are there any questions or comments from council members on this?
I have none.
Okay, thanks, Eric. Bonnie?
I'm sorry, Randy. No, I don't have any either. I think it's good for her to have that access to it when she needs it.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I think, this is pretty simple. So, yeah, Peg, of course, we're not going to vote on that and make a recommendation, but all 3 of us are in favor of that, and I'm glad you're moving that ahead. So,
Okay.
Okay, we got that covered. Thank you, Peg.
All right, thank you, and I'll put my mute on so you don't have to listen to this.
Okay, thank you for doing that. Okay, let's move to item 2, resolution to authorize submission of an application for phase 2 of strategic management planning program. Mayor Slaughter.
Yes, good afternoon, Councilman Allison and Councilman Bider. So this is literally the same exact thing that was before you in December, when we were working with our regional individual from DCED who's in charge of our area. Initially, he said the format was fine. And then after I sent him the approved resolution, he had emailed and said, actually, could we put it in this format? And so nothing at all has changed other than the format that DCED wanted. So that's it. It's just saying that we're ready to move forward with phase 2 of our stamp plan. So same exact thing, just a different format for DCED.
Okay, same financing and
Yeah,
same
none of
cost
the numbers have changed, still 70-30, everything, the HR, payroll, all that, everything is exactly the same. Literally the only changes he asked for this format for the resolution.
Okay,
None of the numbers, nothing financially has changed.
great. Questions from council members, Mr. Bider?
No, if nothing has changed, then I have no questions.
Okay. Bonnie?
I feel the same way.
Yep. And I do as well. So another simple one there, just a change in language. So thank you, Ms. Mayor Slaughter. Appreciate your due diligence on that. And we're looking forward to reaping the benefits of this plan. I think it's going to help a lot. Okay, let's move to item 3, resolution authorizing execution of agreement between the City of Williamsport and RVTA, River Valley Transit Authority. And this is also Mayor Slaughter.
Yes, good afternoon again. I have Tracy here with me as well, who's worked on this. But this is just a simple agreement. As you know, the city and RVTA, we're working through the process now, of course, of the properties and the transfer of certain properties. Until that takes place, we needed an agreement to include those properties, which we've been referring to. And in this instance, in this agreement, it's the premises 1 through 5. That's identified in attachment A. And what this would do, the authority in the city, the allocation of insurance coverage to adequately insure the properties until they have been transferred over to the authority. So really, this is just obviously to maintain the insurance and an agreement between both the city and RVTA for that insurance coverage moving forward until we've worked out everything between the two entities to transfer those properties to the authority. Tracy's here. I don't know if she wants to add anything.
The only thing I would say is that this was recommended by the insurance carrier and it has been reviewed by both Austin and Jill Nagy.
All right, thank you, Tracy. Questions from council members? Mr. Bider?
No, this is something that was somewhat brought up in December when we were talking about insurance coverage. So I do appreciate that this has been done in agreement form, so we have a little bit more coverage for ourselves. So thank you very much, Mayor.
Yes. Yep. Welcome. Thanks.
Bonnie, do you
No
have?
questions.
Okay. And I don't either. You know, it's pretty straightforward and it's just a part of the transition that we've been working through for a couple of years now. So, okay. Again, thank you. Mayor Slaughter, thank you, Tracy, for wrapping that up for us. Okay, let's move on to item 4. It's a resolution for purchase of Arctic Wolf Managed Detector and Security Response Solution. That's a mouthful. And this is Chris Black.
Good afternoon, everyone. What you have before you is a resolution for the purchase of basically a firewall between us and the rest of the world. They will manage and monitor all of our endpoints in real time and coordinate any responses with myself and the rest of the city and whoever may else be involved in this department at any time. This is a year-to-year contract. And when I first met with them, when they first called to set up a meeting, I was thinking that the name Arctic Wolf kind of sounded a little on the hokey side. But after talking with them, these guys really know their stuff. They are partners with a lot of larger companies and businesses globally. They will give us 24/7 monitoring of the data flowing in and out of our network, how it's looking, how it's trafficking. If there's spikes in it, they can start isolating different things and then notify me or whom we designate to come in and take care of it. This was sent to Austin for review before Christmas. I have yet to hear back from him on that. And this would come out of my contractor services budget.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Questions from council members?
Sure.
Mr. Black, does this solve some of the issues that we needed to comply with for the insurance carrier?
Yes.
Okay.
A multitude of them.
That was my most important question. Thank you.
Yes.
Bonnie, do you have
Randy,
any?
my only question is, Chris, make sure that Austin goes through the contract
Yeah, I will.
and gets back to you.
I will. I mean, I will send him another note. Unfortunately, I was out of the office all last week as well. So I don't know if he's taken vacation over the holidays. I think it was just the timing of a lot of things. But yes, I will fire him another note as soon as time permits today.
Okay, thank you, Chris.
Sure.
The only question I wanted to ask, excuse me, I'm dealing with something here, but I'm not familiar with all the technical terms they had in there in that contract. And, you know, to see units assigned to titles that I had no idea what that meant. Could you just briefly explain some of the things in layman's terms?
What the solution does is there will be software put on each of our endpoints, which will be all of the computers and servers and so forth that we have within the city.
Mhm.
And then there will also be what they call a network appliance installed on the network, which just kind of monitors everything going in and out of it and sends reports back to both myself and the strategic center that they have set up assigned to us. They will have at least 2, if not 3 or more assigned to our location. So there's always somebody with eyes on the data as it's coming in.
Okay.
And it basically monitors it, you know, to see, they'll get a baseline of how the information is flowing in and out. And if there's certain spikes at different times, then we'll get notifications on it. And if it gets rampant, they can lock it down and, you know, take that particular endpoint off the network if necessary to isolate it. So if there is any type of virus that gets on it, or it's subject to an attack from the outside, it will isolate the unit until there's, you know, the situation can be resolved. It might be legitimate, you know, traffic, and it might not be. If it's legitimate, we can let it go and then just, you know, earmark it as such. But if it's not, it will clamp it very quickly.
Okay. Yeah, that's very understandable. So like when it denoted 150 units, are those endpoints then or different
Yes, yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, the units are all of the computers, all of the servers. There is room for growth in there as well. So, we're not hamstringed that, oh, we only bought for 110 units and we have 111 now.
Mhm.
It allows us to expand that if need be throughout the year. Plus, it's a good product. I've
Yeah.
seen it in work. It's impressive.
Oh, great. Well, the time and age we're living in now, it's definitely high security is needed.
Yeah, the cybersecurity policies, they change year to year, sometimes at the very last minute, like we found out here this year. And you have to buy it. You just do.
Okay, that was my only question. And again, we're not voting, but
Sure.
we're definitely in favor of this. So thanks, Chris. Appreciate your expertise on this. Okay, let's move on to item 5, resolution authorizing the tax and revenue anticipation note. This is a yearly thing that we do this time of year before the real estate taxes go out and we have the cash flow that we need. And this is going to be addressed by Tracy Raish.
Hi, good afternoon. So the document you have before you is a TRAN, a tax revenue anticipation note that is proposed to be through M&T. We are limited in our providers because of not having audits through current. So M&T was the only provider that was helpful in getting us a rate quickly. You will see that the rate is 5.75%, which is high, but that's where the interest rates are going right now. I don't anticipate that we will need to draw on this, this TRAN, but it's just more of a safety mechanism just in case the taxes don't come in as quickly as anticipated.
Okay, well, that's good to hear. In past times, we did have to draw down on it, but questions from council members? Mr. Biter?
I have none. This seems like something we've done for the past few years. So,
Yeah.
Pretty standard at this point.
Yep. Okay, thanks. Thanks, Eric. Bonnie?
Correct me if I'm wrong on this. Didn't this usually come through the treasurer?
Not that I'm aware of. I saw the documents on Joe's system.
Councilman, I think Joe typically handled this one.
Yeah.
Okay, because Nick used to bring this to us. And that's why I was questioning it. Okay.
I thought Joe did, but
I'm pretty sure Joe handled the TRAN.
Okay.
okay. I don't have any questions either. So yearly. Back up in case we need it. Okay, thank you, Tracy. Appreciate it. And Mayor Slaughter.
Yep, thanks.
We'll move on to item 6, any related items, or is there anything from the administration?
No, I don't have anything at this time.
Or anybody else? Okay. I'll entertain a motion for adjournment then.
So moved.
I'll second it for you, Randy.
Okay, thanks, Bonnie. Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, I agree. Okay, thanks, everybody. And those, Bonnie, we'll see you.
23. We are conducting our meeting remote. Present here is Councilman Randy Allison, Councilman Vince Pelizzi. We have present also Scott Livermore, head of Streets and Parks. And let me see, we have Brent Fish. We have Tony Nardi, and let me expand here up. Molly Steele. Who is R. Smith?
Renee Smith.
Okay, Renee Smith, okay. Renee Smith from the fire department. We also have the mayor present, and Chris Black is IT. The first item on the agenda is Discussion on, oh, did I mention John Markley? And John, you are here. A discussion, the first item, we have 5 items on our agenda today. First item on the agenda is discussion on stop signs at Walnut Street. Scott, where do we stand? The 90 days are up, right?
Correct. 90 days are up. And in that 90-day trial that we had, obviously no incidents were there. And honestly, looking back through John's notes, there's never been an incident there in the last quite some time. So right now where we stand is obviously they'll come down because it does not warrant the stop signs for being up due to the volume of traffic, the amount. It's just not, it's not enough there to warrant those, keep them up for safety issues. So that's where we're at now. It just does not have enough traffic to
Okay,
keep.
so the stop signs are going to come down,
Yes,
which is fantastic. John, then you don't need the petition, or do you have the petition that John had signed by the citizens that lived in the area? For just for
don't.
the record?
I have that, Councilwoman.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So just so we have that for record keeping, just in
Yep.
case. John Markley, do you have anything to add to this? You're muted. Remember, you're muted.
Yes, I just want to say thank you, Scott and Mayor, for helping me out with our citizens here. I know it's an unusual request. Usually when people put stop signs up, nobody complains about them and they stay there forever. But in this situation down here, the people were kind of upset to see them go up. And yes, happen to be the speaker from my neighborhood. And I just want to thank you guys so we don't need to talk about this at council or anything then?
Nope, it's a done deal at this point.
Okay, I know, Scott, I did give you 2 signs that you could put up, if you'd like to discuss that.
What are
Um,
this,
no,
does
I
that
don't-
have to come to committee?
they're speed limit signs, and honestly, at this time, I don't even see that relevant to even be putting up. I mean, if you're doing that corner faster, faster than 15 miles an hour, you're going to be in trouble anyway. So I looked into that and I don't see a need in that right now. But, obviously just a little bit, we look at this situation, I look at every citizen situation on safety factor. And, this is what I took into account to, do the trial period to see if anything would come up. And obviously, nothing did, but, I didn't do it to upset anybody, but I did it for safety reasons for the community to make sure I was doing my part. So.
Okay, then we thank you very much, Scott. And thank you, John. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys, and it's much appreciated. Thank you so much.
Well, I know we'll be seeing you with the veterans things.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You have a good,
Mayor too.
you have a good New Year's, okay?
Yep,
Take care,
thank you,
John.
guys. Thank you.
Take
And
care.
I'm out of here.
Okay, take care. I'm going to switch things around on the agenda since we have guests sitting here. I'd like to go down to item number 3, resolution awarding real estate broker services to Fish Commercial Group. John, I see you're present. John Sanders.
Yes, hi, good afternoon, everybody. Sorry, my Zoom was acting up a little bit. How's everybody doing?
We're doing terrific. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. So what you have before you is a resolution to hire Fish Commercial Group to market and sell the City Hall building as it currently is. Obviously, as you noted, Fish representatives are on the call. This resolution was reviewed by Austin City Solicitor ahead of time. I had previously sent out documentation in regards to the building appraisal and the repair cost information. I'm not really going to get into that on this call. Again, this is to hire Fish Commercial Group to sell the City Hall building. To get into the nuts and bolts of it, this agreement would be for 1 year, and it would be payment to Fish would be a 6% commission of the purchase price or a flat fee of $20,000, whichever is higher. And the would be paid for when the building sells. And let me know if you have any questions. Or
I'm
Fish
gonna-
themselves.
Mr. Fish, Brent Fish, would you like to add anything to this? You're muted. Okay, there you are.
Yes, yeah, there we are. Yeah, our main representative, we do have Tony here. Tiffany Chofie is the other representative. It was a team approach, and so Tiffany unfortunately is out of town at a funeral, so you don't see her on here. But and I believe a full marketing plan and approach was submitted. If you don't have that, we're happy to send it to you. But it's I don't know what else I can add. It's a challenging assignment. We feel Tony and I and Tiffany have met on it several times, and feel like we have a decent approach planned out. So I guess if there's any questions about that part of it, we're happy to answer them.
Okay, fantastic. I'll open it up to other council people. Randy, do you have any questions?
I don't, no, I appreciate the widespread net that looks like is going to be used here. And I think that's going to help. Towards the end of the agreement says if initial interest level is high, we can adjust to a bid submission approach. So is there, are you talking numbers, or are you talking dollar amounts of offers, or a combination of both there?
If I think I understand the question, I think we're talking about both, right, Tony? I mean, if there's a lot of initial interest, we just suggested as an option, we can make sure everyone gets an opportunity to submit and handle it that way.
Yeah, I think our thought on that process was that if we had, good initial reaction to the listing, and the city decided that the best approach was to put it out to bid, we can always do that, or not put it out to bid, but more, to accept offers kind of on a rolling basis, if you would, instead of just saying, we'll take the first offer that comes in. Maybe we give a deadline, say, bring us all your offers, that kind of approach to it.
Okay. Yeah, I realize this was a unique kind of situation here, given a lot of the elements surrounding this. And the 6% versus the 20,000, is that common in these kinds of deals?
I would say
the nature of what's going on here.
Yeah, it's common for this type of situation, I would say, with us.
Yeah.
Of course, legally, I disclose, all commissions are negotiable, of course, but
Sure.
In this kind of a situation, we don't know where this is going to land.
Right.
And we have, I know there's been appraisals done and whatnot. If some scenario would present itself to the city that is, who knows? I mean, it's up, that's going to be entirely up to council, it sounds like. So if there's some scenario that comes across that is like a donation or something like that, I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but we just want to make sure we're protected if we've got a year's worth of, or 8-9 months of work into it. So
yeah, understood.
We were, so there's some flexibility there. I would say we just thought that was the best approach.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have, Bonnie.
Okay, Vince.
Thank you,
Any
Bonnie.
questions?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. Good afternoon, everybody. Happy New Year.
Same to you, Vince.
So a couple of quick questions here. You know, I have in front of me here the different presentations. You know, obviously we don't have a crystal ball. We can't determine exactly what the property is going to sell for, but Tony or Brent, do either of you have an idea what this is going to sell for?
Tony, you want to go on first on that one?
Well, you know, it's a unique situation. I mean, you're dealing with an entity that's, I think, locally, your local interest are going to be buyers who are educated on the property, right? They're going to know that there's been issues with the property. They're going to know that the property needs work. Obviously, it is a massive structure for somebody to take on as far as a renovation goes. So, I mean, to answer your question, I'd say that the purchase price, again, going back to even what Brent brought up a little while ago, could go anywhere from the city could decide that if somebody had the wherewithal and was willing to take it on and was going to make it a viable, taxable property, which is, I think, the goal, you know, ultimately, right, is to get it back on the tax rolls. That the purchase price may not be very great and compared to what the appraisal value is, or, you know, just because the city wants to make sure that the person who's buying it has the wherewithal, the means to redevelop it. So, you know, that's going to play a lot into it. And I think that purchase price is, you know, it's hard to say on this one where you're going to end up with it. Obviously, there's square footage there, there's location there, there's historical, you know, significance there. There's certainly architectural significance there. The question is, can we find a buyer that's willing to pay you know, what would even be perceived as a premium for those features? I don't know. I think that would be difficult. I think what we're going to find is what we're going to want, what the city's going to want, is a buyer who's being realistic and who has the means to take on this project. We've all seen projects that have been taken on and that are not, you know, completed, and go through a very long process then of trying to get a viable buyer for them. So I think, you know, the purchase price is dependent on us finding a viable buyer that has the means to take care of this, and we'll see what they're willing to bring. You know, this is not a simple warehouse, butler building, commercial style building where you can say you have 100,000 square feet of usable space that a tenant can move into, you know, in a month. So it is a different animal.
That's why we recommended in the proposal that any sale have some type of deed restriction on it.
Absolutely.
So no one buys it and just sits on it. That was our recommendation.
I know that's go ahead.
Yeah, that was our recommendation. We don't want to get involved into the politics of it, obviously, but we feel like that's probably important to be in there. And my other opinion is you guys could have 10 appraisals on this property and you're going to get 10 vastly different opinions. That's why we made our proposal strictly about marketing and how we would go about marketing it, whether that list price is $5 million or 100,000. You know, we tried to focus on the marketing and our ability to handle that for you, regardless of the price. That's not always how we approach things. Part of our proposals is typically some type of price opinion. We feel like in this case, let's just explain to council how we go about marketing it and a few other opinions and go from there.
Okay. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Mayor, I see that you're on also. Real quick, can you explain to us, well, let me just back up here real quick. Brent, thank you very much for adding that, because I know that the possibility, there was a very real concern amongst a lot of the city residents, amongst several members of us even on city council, that we wanted to make sure that should the building be sold, it did not go into the hands of someone that might just sit on the property and let it fall apart. That we want responsible developers, whomever they may be, to come in and to get it fixed up, get it developed right. And that they are going to, and I believe there is no possibility that the structure can be torn down. Is that correct? Because it is registered as a National Historic Site, right?
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay. So that box is already checked off, that we make sure that the structure stays up, but then to make sure that it didn't just be left to fall into disrepair, that it's going to be held and sold to responsible bidder. Now, Mayor, can you speak to the language of how that would be written up? I believe in some sort of a contractual form is.
I would probably defer that to Austin or Fish, but we did talk to Austin about this property, and I spoke to Brent, Tony, and Tiffany, and we would just include it to Brent's point that he just mentioned. It would just be in there, whatever time frame we agree upon, 24 months, if nothing, if there's no development that has occurred within 24 months or whatever the case might be, that we work with the attorneys and we get that added into that language added into it. And also that because some of the workarounds that have happened, from my understanding in yesteryears, that at the 11th hour, then they will sell it, for $1 to then get away from that restriction that might be in place. So there's different things that we've discussed to make sure that, whoever is, ends up getting the property, that they can't play the system, so to speak. And we get it back on the tax rolls, like Tony said, but more importantly, that it's developed and rehabbed to a suitable use that we all want to see. So it is our intent, and we did explain that to Austin White while we were going through this process, and he said we can absolutely make sure those items are in place.
Okay.
So.
Thank you. And then, Mayor, the next question I had, Fish has a very well-established name in the area as far as selling properties. So how does that process work? Fish gets an offer. Does the offer then get presented to, obviously it'll be presented to yourself, but then is that offer then passed on and presented to city council for approval of said offer? What's
Yes.
that look like?
Yes, it would ultimately have to get council's final approval. My recommendation, or I guess our recommendation on the administrative side, would be to obviously have the offers come into Fish, and then we have a small team assembled, including, maybe a member or two from council, to review them, and then we move our recommendation forward. So I definitely, city council will absolutely be included, the whole way through the process. But ultimately it cannot be sold. Council has to have the final approval. Even if hypothetically, if the administration does not want to include council, we have to, but we want to include council. Council will be included. And so, yeah, so all the way along, right from the beginning, I do want to make sure that we are all on the same page, because obviously there's no surprise or gotcha with any of this. So we want to make sure it's transparent, and here's what we're getting, here's what we're doing, and here's the offers we received, and here's our recommendation.
Okay.
So yes, to answer your question, yes.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I just, again, had written down questions that were presented to myself, so I want to make sure I got them asked.
Hey, Vince, this is John. I just wanted to point out, Jill Nagy hopped on the call for insurance reasons, in case you wanted to ask. Our city solicitor, Jill Nagy, is also on the call, just to let you know. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, John. Yeah, I see Jill. All right. No, thank you very much. At this time, I don't have any other questions regarding this. Bonnie?
I'm just out of curiosity. This is for Tony and Brent. Being a historic building, is this an asset or is this going to be a detriment for the sale?
if you don't mind, Councilwoman, I'll have, because some folks have asked me that, and then I'll let, not to jump in, Brent or Tony.
Sure.
But John and I actually were on a Zoom. I think John was on that Zoom with some of the state historical people. And they really thought it could be an asset because there are different monies that are available potentially for folks to rehab it, to redevelop it through the state and other means as well. So looking at it from that angle, it could be an asset in that regard.
I did go to a conference, it was Zoomed, okay? About 3-4 years ago. And it had to do with historic buildings and stuff. And it's amazing. There's more money out there for private sector with historic buildings than there is for government.
Right.
Which I always found interesting.
And they also, sorry.
Go ahead, Mayor.
I was going to say, they also don't have to, they don't have to worry about the prevailing wages in the private sector, which obviously we have to do that as well. But yes, to your point, Councilwoman, there's a decent amount of money out there for historical structures for the private folks. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, but we also can see what they did with Old City Hall. I mean, it's an incredible building, what they've done inside with that. I mean, it's that's proof positive what can be done.
Absolutely.
But as everybody has stated, it takes the money to do it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
But if there's no other discussions, we don't vote on this. This is just for, a discussion purpose here at the Public Works meeting. You will be present here for council Thursday?
Yes, I will be.
Okay, to answer
Yeah.
any questions with other council people.
Sure.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. I think this is very informative and I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to transpire with all of this. I think we're all curious and anxious at the same time. But thank you very much for being here and taking part of this.
Thank you for the,
My pleasure.
Thank you.
yes, thank you.
Okay, next thing on the agenda is a resolution. We're going to go, like I said, we're going to skip around here. Excuse me, I've got a cold and my eyes are tearing up very badly right now. Resolution awarding an agreement between the city of Williamsport and Choice Carpet Cleaners. John, you're up again.
Yes, good afternoon again. This is just a pretty simple one. I put out a contract 3 or 4 weeks ago to anyone that was interested for cleaning services at Trade and Transit 1, Trade and Transit 2, Police Patrol on Nichols Ave, and Public Works buildings, just the city-owned city portions of those buildings, obviously TT1 and TT2. The only company that replied was our current provider for cleaning services, which is Choice, and their contract amount was $45,900. That will be paid from facility maintenance. I advertised it in the newspaper twice, and like I said, Choice was the only company that put in for it. So that's all I got.
Any questions, Randy?
Yeah, the each building cost is broken down. Is that by square footage, John? Did they build that?
Give me a second. I don't believe I guess they just put dollar figures for each specific building. I don't know how they came up with their dollar figures, so I can't answer that without being the actual bidder, the actual company themselves. So I don't know how they came up with their dollar figures.
Okay.
I can tell you they are just slightly increased from, I think they're somewhere in the $40,000 range last year, 42. Scott may be able to correct me on this, and then we're almost about 46,000. So you see a little bit of an increase, but not too far off.
The increase from last year to this year is due to the fact that last year's was a 10-month. This is a 12-month cleaning service.
Okay. Yeah, that's all I have, Monty.
Okay, Vince, any questions?
No, thank you.
I don't have any questions either. So I thank you all very much. Okay, we'll see you on Thursday.
We skipped one here.
Oh, no, I know. We've got to go back up. I'm just saying I'm seeing these guys on Thursday.
Oh, okay.
John and Scott. Oh, no, we've got two more items on the agenda here. The next thing on the agenda is an ordinance providing for I'm sorry, hold on a second. Ordinance providing for preferred residency for city employees. And this is the first reading. And Molly, this is you.
Good afternoon, everybody. So as discussed in the previous city council meeting, we would like to revise this ordinance to make residency for at-will employees preferred rather than required. As you know, we've had some difficulty in filling some of the at-will positions, to include the Director of Public Works position. It took the mayor 2 years to fill that position, based on trying to find somebody who lives in the city that had very specific skill set that Scott does ultimately. We've been struggling trying to fill the position of administrator for the codes department. And again, that is a very specific skill set that we have been unable to find within the city limits. We did not want to do away with the preference altogether. We would still like it to be preferred that the at-will employees live in the city, and I can put that on job postings, and we can certainly consider those residents more significantly than the outside residents. But we're hoping that City Council would approve this change.
Questions, Randy?
No, I don't have any questions. I think this is a needed change, given the realities of the job market and for a number of things. I just think we're in a whole different era now. And I think we would prefer people who live here, but I've always kind of defaulted to, I want the best person we can get for the job in the end. So that's what that's my outlook on things. So that's all I have, Bonnie.
Okay, Vince, do you have anything to state?
Real quick, I thought when the residency requirement was set up initially, that the requirement it applied to every employee, contracted employees, salaried employees, hourly? What employees did it?
No, it was only the at-will, and then we attempted to negotiate it with the 5 unions. And at the time, our transit union did adopt the residency. Of course, that's a moot point now. But we were unable to get that in the final language of the other union contract. So we kept it in for the at-will employees.
Okay. Because I mean, correct me. You know, we all wanted the. If you're working for the city, it'd be nice to have you live in the city. You know, we want to try and make that a point. Yeah, it is pretty much a moot point now with that the transit did adopt that, and then they're a separate authority now. Preferred residency, I can understand it. You know, ultimately, I would like to see the city become a place to where people want to move into, rather than to try and not live in to avoid the tax rates. But if this is what is going to help us move forward, getting the right people, the best qualified people for the job, I can understand you know, a need to change that from required to preferred.
Yeah, and I think to Molly's point, I think we will be very clear to candidates that we should feel strongly that you should live in the city. That's not, you know, we're not going to change our minds as far as how we feel. But, you know, with the, you know, as Randy said, this labor market, you know, it's tough right now. And so it's cutthroat to a degree. So we want to have as many advantages as we can. And, but yes, Councilman, I agree that we still make it clear that, you know, we want everybody to live in the city. We want professionals to live in the city, and particularly if you're working for the city.
Thank you. Bonnie, I have no other questions.
Okay. I'm going to state that, I was chair of the ad hoc committee that came up with the ordinance, and along with Mayor Slaughter. And I can't remember who else was on the committee, but I do know that Nick Grimes put a lot of verbiage into this also.
I think Councilman Henderson at the time as well.
Who was it?
I think it was Councilman Henderson, I believe.
That's right. It was Joel. And the purpose behind it was because we all felt that the taxpayers are paying everybody's salary that works for the city. And what we're all seeing is a decrease in population at this point. And we can all attest, I mean, between administration and council, that it's becoming more and more difficult to, I don't want to say pay all of our bills, but we're not bringing in the same revenue to cover all of our costs anymore. And, this is, if you don't have people living in the city, if you're not bringing new businesses into the city, if you're not generating that whole excitement of living in your city kind of gets lost at this point, where you don't bring in the revenue to pay the bills. The one thing that does scare me with the preferred, and I'm very happy, Mayor, that you were stating, and also Molly stating, that you're really going to emphasize that they live in the city. You would really appreciate that fact. But I do know there were a couple of people, one in particular that I know that applied for a job, lived in the city, and had the qualifications, but was not given an interview. And I want to make sure that everybody that does apply for a job, Molly, that they do get interviews. And that's one thing that I would like to make sure that happens. Yes, the job market right now is very tight. And we're seeing that with so many of our businesses in the area, that they're having a hard time getting people to work in restaurants, retail. You drive around downtown or drive around the whole city, and you see help wanted signs all over the place. So it's something that I think at this point needs to be done. Am I happy that we have to go this route? No, because I would like to see people that come in to apply for a job be excited about working for the city and want to live in the city. And I think we're all looking at that, because I don't know about anybody else, but I love living here. I love working here. I love having my business here, and I love being on council here. And I can attest that from my point of view, the businesses downtown, I don't know how the rest of the city goes, but I can only talk about downtown because that's my second home, is the amount of tourists that come through this town, and how they are so impressed with not only the good streets, the cleanliness of our town, and the friendliness of our town, which makes you feel so proud that you live in a city that people that come in and would love to live here. They really would, because of what we offer. If we can get people that want to live here and work here, that would be fantastic. So yes, I can understand where we're going with this, because it is a tight situation right now. But please do your darndest to make sure that we do try and see, because it is only fair to the taxpayers who are paying all of our salaries, that people live in the city, because of contract purposes, we don't have, like the police department and so many other people that don't live here, that we're paying, the benefits and everything else. And that's the thing that is bothersome.
Yep.
But other than that, I don't have anything else to say right now. Mayor, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I'll just add two quick things. One, our police chief does live in the city now. So I don't know if that's out there or not, but he has taken up resident, although it was not required, being the chief. He did decide to move into city limits, so we were very excited about that. So I think, to your point, even current employees, we will continue to advocate living within the city. And secondly, obviously, I don't know who you're referencing. It's not appropriate on a public meeting to discuss personnel matters as far as interviews, but I'm not sure we can guarantee that we will interview every single person that lives in the city, but we will, try our hardest, because there's other qualifications and things that we look at. So there's different things that disqualify people outside of just the initial qualifications. So, but absolutely, if they're qualified and they meet, check all the boxes that we're looking for and they live in the city, they no doubt will get an interview. And if we are tied on 2 candidates and one lives in the city and one doesn't, then clearly the tiebreaker will be in the city. So just to be clear, we're still advocating with our current employees, that we really want you to live in the city, and we'll continue to do so with, candidates moving forward as well.
Fantastic. I do want to state, Molly, this was not somebody who was under when you were HR.
Thank you.
Okay. Other than that, I think this is the route we have to go at this point. I like that we're at least keeping the option there with preferred. Any other questions from anybody else or any other statements? If not, thank you very much, Mayor. Thank you very much, Molly.
Thank you.
Last item on the agenda is any related items.